Tucker Carlson headed to streaming? According to a tantalizing new report in the Wall Street Journal, the former Fox News host is plotting a massive comeback in the form of a $9 per month streaming service, and it could go live as soon as today.
Sources familiar with the matter told the Wall Street Journal that the Tucker Carlson network is expected to offer 5 new shows. The service's logo will be a red pill and costs $9 monthly to start, or $72 annually. Some of the content will be free. However, the Journal reports that Carlson's famous monologues will be kept behind the paywall. So this is very interesting. So he's launching a new streaming service to be on various platforms. It has financial backing. He's going to be working with Neil Patel, who he co-founded The Daily Caller with. When I worked for The Daily Caller a million years ago, they were the team in charge there, Tucker and Neil, and also Justin Wells, who was his producer. Tucker's producer for his Fox show, is involved in the project. So it's interesting because it's not going to be just like all the content's on X, the way what Tucker's been doing has just all been unveiled on Twitter. They're still going to put some of it on Twitter, it sounds like, but you're going to have to pay a subscription for a lot of what it offers, if that appeals to you. And apparently he's going to be talking about it with Megyn Kelly, I think, later today on her podcast. So more examples of news people like Megyn Kelly, like others. Kind of just going, creating their own thing outside the platforms available. Yeah,
broadly speaking, I think that independent media is important, and to the extent that you might not agree with Tucker Carlson's views, you should avail yourself of opportunities to go and do the same and fight information with information. Now, I do find the characterization of some of these ventures as free from corporate influence a little interesting. It certainly is advantageous to be able to be independently funded outside of a traditional media sphere. But most people aren't able to have the backing of a number of billionaires who made their money in the financial services industry or the tech industry or whatever it is, who are floating some of these endeavors. And this is something that even lefty publications where I've worked, like The Intercept, have to contend with. At the end of the day, if you have 1 or 2 billionaires floating your project, you still are potentially subject to influence from that person the same way that you are subject to influence from a corporate institution like Fox News or CNN or whatever it is. And so unless you were genuinely independently funded by a subscriber base, I don't know that you can really claim that you aren't subjected to any kind of big money interest. I mean, you're literally being funded by big money interests. They're different ones, and I would hope that you would have a degree of flexibility because you're politically aligned, and that's why you chose each other and all of those sorts of things. But it remains something to look out for.
Right. I mean, well, he's saying the revenue model is going to be, subscriptions for people paying for it.
But the funding to start this thing in the first place has come from, this Omid Malik person who has backed a number of conservative media investments. And again, this is not a judgment. I had a show on Colin that has a billionaire backer. I worked for The Intercept that had a billionaire backer.
Pierre Omidyar.
And on and on and on. This isn't a judgment, but I wouldn't characterize, or I wouldn't resist people making a criticism of course, you're still vulnerable to influence, unless, of course, you're completely subscriber-based. And then even there,
then you're
have
vulnerable
audience
influence
capture,
for your subscribers.
But that's audience capture. No one person in a multi-thousand or multi-million person audience is going to have the same effect on you as Elon Musk being the head of Twitter, for instance.
Yeah, the reality is there are all sorts of subtle levers of influence in the media, and there are better ways to do it and worse ways to do it, and there are people who are more immune to it and people who are less immune to it. But Tucker is clearly someone who wants to speak his mind and wants to do the interviews with the kinds of people he thinks is important. He is already very wealthy. Fox made him a very wealthy man. He was wealthy before that. I think he wants to create something that is appealing to him, which a lot of people won't like or appreciate, but there's a certain power in being already, like Joe Rogan's going to do whatever he wants, right? He might face pressure from the audience. He wants to give the audience a product they like, But some of these independent creators, I think, they're doing what's fun for them at this point, what's enriching and enjoying. But I'm not, denying that they don't face subtle pressure. We all face various pressures for different reasons. We all, in a corporate media environment, you have usually the talent, the people in our position are pretty protected from the direct advertiser pressure. I don't even know. I barely understand the finances of this whole project we're involved in. I don't know enough about it to know how, even if the advertisers wanted to influence me, I wouldn't know what to do. But you face, in a traditional media environment, you face pressure from management at various times and just other people involved in the product. And then ultimately the number one source of pressure is just from the audience. It's just to cover the kinds of things that your viewers, your readers, your listeners want to hear about.
I do think a lot of people are curious about the choice to not have exclusive content on Twitter anymore. Carlson says, this is from Guardian's reporting, that he said his team claimed that X could not build technology required for launching the streaming service, but that he will continue, as we noted, to post free content on X. It is interesting to consider, to think about whether or not they were considering actually building out X in all these different ways. But, as we covered extensively, Elon dramatically cut down Twitter staff even to perform the functions that Twitter has historically served. And I do wonder, I'm not surprised to hear there was a capacity or technological issue with building out a real streaming service that Tucker Carlson could use to have traditional kind of reach.
Right. If you think about the platform, it's not built to be a streaming television platform, right? I mean, it's how would you would want a separate window open that has the video, but then right now you just scroll, but you have to be clicked onto that tweet to watch a video. You'd have to open up another tab to scroll through. It's not built that way yet, I think.
Yeah, it's not built that way yet. And it doesn't seem like it's going in that direction. It's also worth knowing, as we're talking about censorship and viewpoint censorship, Glenn Greenwald announced, I believe just yesterday, that he's been banned on TikTok. His show, System Update, has been permanently banned from TikTok without much of an explanation given for that. So again, it's another reason why so many of us, especially those of us who cover issues that are red lines like Israel-Palestine, from a left perspective or from a pro-Palestinian perspective, always diversify where we host our shows. It's part of why Rumble has been a draw for a lot of people, not just on the political right, but on the political left, why people use sites like Redfin, why people diversify over a number of platforms, because even someone like Glenn Greenwald, who is perhaps the most awarded journalist in the United States of America, can have something like this happen to his news show with very little public pushback.
It's that's interesting, just because the perception among conservatives or pro-Israeli voices has been that TikTok was too encouraging of the anti-Israel perspective. Glenn is obviously, more toward your persuasion on those issues. So that's I didn't hear that they had done that.
All right.
Did they give a reason for it?
As of me listening to him talking about it yesterday, he had not been given a reason, but we will update you if we hear more about that story. Maybe Glenn will join us to discuss further. Do stick around. More Rising for you right after this.